What's good, everybody? Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic day. This morning, there's a bunch of news on deck. We had earnings from Amazon, Google, Meta. You've got an ECB rate decision that happened this morning. You have Bank of England or the BOE rate decision. Both of them stayed at neutral and just means that same thing the FOMC did yesterday, which is nothing. Everybody's got their eyes on oil, both the WTI and the Brent crude oil contracts skyrocketing yesterday during or a little bit before the FOMC. And then I guess there was the BOJ essentially hinting at intervention. And because they either hinted at or actually did intervene, you have the USDJPY literally tearing ass to the downside. You see right here, it is down 2.2%. That's a massive move on an intraday basis with Forex. That's your daily candle right there. That's one of the biggest down day candles you've seen in a very long time on the USD JPY. And I said yesterday, give me 1 second. Let me. Yeah, I said yesterday during when the FOMC was actually happening that the BOJ has intervened at 160 before, and they intervened on a CPI print, and it was a good CPI print. So it's not like it's actually something they've done before. So it wouldn't be completely off the cuff if they were to intervene. It looks to me like they've intervened, that this is a massive move. So of course this is pulling the dollar down today. Let's go to the daily time frame. I know there's a lot of lines on this chart. Just bear with me for a second. We don't need these lines here. We can get rid of. We need the two orange lines, as that's your daily and weekly exponentials. We don't really need that gap yet. You can see at the 200 exponential, that's literally what held as resistance when your new day candle opened for the DXY futures market. Have made fresh day low today and more. You actually traded all the way down to test the yearly opening range again, and this level has held since April 22nd. So this was your break above. There's your retest. You came back and retested again on that day and then again today. So this is going to be the very near-term support, but this is a reaction that I like to see. If the dollar can start to trend lower, that would be a good thing, I think, in the long run for Bitcoin. So coming over here to Bitcoin, what do we got going on? Well, yesterday during the news conference, Bitcoin put in a low, liquidating the prior day's low, and then that was it. That was it. We got the speech. Nothing was really said throughout the speech, and then the rest of the day, Bitcoin just slowly headed back up, got back above the strategy cost basis. Also, your daily 21 exponential moving average is down here. So right here is your current day high, 76. Well, let me go ahead and give you the exact price, 76,448. It's going to be the current day high. So if you have a bearish bias on Bitcoin, all right, you would be looking for a short around the day high. You also have the weekly VWAP here. I do not have a short side bias on it, so I'm not looking to take that short. I got short Pingu yesterday. I took profits on that trade this morning. I think that if the dollar rolls over, if oil rolls over, Bitcoin could rip, and that's what I want to see. That's actually what my bias is. So I like to see that it held support here this morning with all these different news prints coming out, all this different high event risk data being dropped this week, with a very, very busy week in terms of data. You had central bank decisions, which we knew that there wouldn't be much happening based on central bank rate decisions, but we also knew we had big tech earnings this week. We also had inflation coming out of two of those countries, one being the US. You had GDP coming out of the ECB and the US. Core PCE GDP. So lots of data this week. So no doubt you're seeing a pretty sizable move on the USD. That's going to be coming from the USD JPY. It's the USD JPY asset that I think has been putting a lot of pressure on Bitcoin, I would say, because the carry trade is still very much valid and still very much widened, that it does appear that it would take a central bank intervention in order to unwind that, or at the very least start an unwind. But anyways, yeah, we'll see what happens. If we go take a look at the Brent crude here, nice move lower after taking out yesterday's high. This is typically where we would have been looking for the short. If I would have been watching Brent crude last night, I definitely would not have tried to short it yesterday with this much bullish momentum. I have essentially every day this week pulled up on the chart. There's the open on Monday. And you can see pretty much all week the bulls have been buying oil. They've been buying oil. So obviously oil bulls think that prices are going much higher. So I seen in my Discord yesterday a hot take from one of my buddies saying that in terms of the US-Iran war, Iran has essentially won. That is a very, very hot take. That take would be the equivalent to a UFC fight where one guy is standing unfazed, the other guy is laying on the ground completely battered, broken and bruised and bloodied, looking up at the standing gentleman, asking him if he's had enough. Iran has no ability to defend themselves. They have no navy. They have no air force. Their currency is essentially zero. The U.S. blockade is stopping money from going inside the country. It's just a matter of time before Iran comes to the table with a deal. And in terms of Iran charging tolls from here on out, Pete has absolutely said that if anybody pays that toll, then the U.S. would sanction them. So they'll come to the table for a deal, and then hopefully that will get oil prices under control. I know all the countries that have to import oil right now are struggling. Essentially, the Europe, the euro rates are trading lock in step with oil right now. US, not so much. Obviously, oil prices, gas prices at the pump are going to be annoying for everybody. Of course, that's always going to happen when you have oil skyrocket like it did. However, we want to see oil, move back down. So does the rest of the world. And eventually that will happen. Most likely. People looking for oil up at $200 and $300 a barrel. I think they just want to see it all come crashing down. I don't know why they would want to see that, but I think those are kind of crazy oil price targets. I mean, that's high. But anyway, oil looks like it wants to unwind a little bit right here. Could it be unwinding because of dollar weakness or euro strength? It absolutely could be. It absolutely could be. Here is what your euro looks like today. So not strong as you've traded up to yesterday's open and rejected. But as long as yesterday's close holds as support, this would be a viable opportunity on the euro if you think that oil is going to roll over. You are testing the daily 21 exponential right now. It has been, it has been being tested though for about a week, a little over a week. So, I mean, it's anybody's guess and it's anybody's game. The bears can take it from here. All they got to do is hold it at 1.17. And if they were able to do that, then oil doesn't roll over. Oil has already pretty much rolled over for today, but it is still just a pullback at this point. As if you look at the daily candle, it's still trading to about yesterday's midpoint. What I would love to see to stay bullish on near-term price action for Bitcoin is a bearish engulfing candle today on oil. That's what I would love to see. I doubt that's going to happen, but it is what I would love to see. I would love to see that every bit of this move yesterday gets retraced, as it was most likely spurred on from aggressive intraday buyers and people trying to short oil and them getting stopped out. But only time will tell. You can see that you did liquidate these swing highs up here. So the last time oil had a magnificent drop, you've went right back to that. So it doesn't look really good. I would assume people are going to be buying this dip on oil today. And if we look at it on an intraday basis, you can see that they are very much aggressive today, those buyers. So typically, I would not be shorting this asset with this kind of bullish aggression. I wouldn't. But this morning, I looked at dollar yen, and oil was, when I was looking at dollar yen, it was literally collapsing, and oil was pushing up in here. So I took a short there. It was a chase, but it was the only opportunity I had. I literally just woke up, put my butt down in this seat, and oil was printing this 30-minute bullish candle. And I was like, well, if USD JPY continues to sell off, then I would assume oil pulls back probably pretty aggressive. So I jumped in a short there at 110 spot 30, and I'm going to hold that trade until it gets stopped out or until it makes money. So we'll see what happens with that. And then, of course, I have a bullish bias on Bitcoin, so I would love to see it rip. But for the bears out there, for anybody that doesn't have my bias or anybody that thinks Bitcoin is going to roll over, your weekly pressure here on Bitcoin is weak. The intra-week price action is bearish. You've been making lower highs and lower lows all week long. Price has consistently been trending under the weekly volume weighted average price. So yeah, if you get a wick up into the day high and reject that price, that could be a short side entry. Today is Thursday, so it's late in the week. Chances are the weekly range, if it's not going to be a nasty down move, would be pretty much done by this point, I would assume. Still a lot of data, and Christine Lagarde, which is the ECB chair, is currently speaking right now. And they do have more of a hawkish tone because of oil. They are talking about potentially, or Bloomberg was talking about the ECB potentially hiking interest rates to get ahead of inflation. Inflation brought on by high oil prices. So it's been this way since oil spiked this month in April. It has literally been like this the entire month. Everybody has had their eyes on the Strait of Hormuz and oil prices. It's literally been the driver for the entire month of April. And the fact that Bitcoin did good that month is astounding to me. I think that's a very good sign. I was wanting to see some kind of bullishness out of Bitcoin. It wasn't a gigantic bullish move. It wasn't a massive short squeeze, but the fact that oil was very bullish for the month of April, or going into April, it was very bullish for the month of March, and then going into April, oil kind of hasn't done a whole lot, but you get what I'm saying, right? The fact that Bitcoin did advance was a good sign for me. Let me go real quick just to make sure. Yeah, you're up on oil for the month of April. Obviously, March was the really good month for oil. But yeah, because Bitcoin isn't making fresh yearly lows, that's a good sign. All right, anyway, so yeah, I'm keeping my eyes on oil today. I want to see it continue to make lower highs and lower lows all day long. And then in terms of what are we going to do here with the USD JPY? Well, there's not much we can do. There's no way I'm shorting this after it's already dropped 2%. If you were not awake early this morning, and I mean early, this thing started to fall at the London session open, 2 a.m. That's the London open for me. That's literally when it set the high of day. And you only had about 20 or 30 minutes to get involved in a short there. Otherwise, you missed it. And at literally 6 o'clock, this thing just dumped. So I'm going to assume that is a massive long squeeze. You are squeezing out all of these longs here. This is a nasty move. Down 2%. Hopefully Bitcoin has a good day because of this today. It feels like it should, but it is still very slow. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic day. As I stated, be careful if you're trying to trade euro or oil, because like I said, Christine Lagarde is speaking, and that could cause a lot of intraday chaos and volatility. Big price swings in either direction. And in terms of Pingu, I was looking for a long this morning if 30-minute support could hold. It was this candle that I was specifically watching. And I did get long when this thing pulled back here. Right there. That's when I executed a long entry. Stop is just right in this area. It's not a very big trade. I don't like the long with deltas looking like this. It looks like this would be a perfect short setup, generally speaking. If there wasn't like a massive data print going on currently, I would absolutely be looking for a short on this today. But because of what's happening around the world, I just feel like the short would be the bad idea. If it wasn't for that, I would definitely be looking for the short. So it's just not, I'm not seeing a whole lot that there is anything to do with. Right now, one could hypothetically look for a euro long, but I mean, it came off pretty hard once that rate decision happened, and it's trying to hold support here, but we'll see what happens. Will New York come in and buy USD JPY now that it's pulled back hyper aggressively? I would say the answer is maybe. Yeah, I would say the bulk of the move is in. So you will probably see a lot of choppy price action for the rest of the day. But I mean, it is moving. It is moving. If we look at just this current 30-minute candle here from low to high is 65 pips. So can this be day traded? Absolutely it can be. Absolutely it can be. Just make sure you're mitigating your risk and you know what you stand to lose if you're wrong. Could it bounce from here? It is the yearly opening range. So that's another astounding yes. It absolutely could bounce from here. So, like every day, the main drivers, once again, oil. And you can see there's a lot of buying pressure coming in down here. Lots of buying pressure. Lots of bids hitting the table right now. You can see that on the point of control as well as volume, cumulative volume delta. A lot of buyers. A lot of buyers trying to bid up oil prices. If they are successful, then I would anticipate euro rolling over and not holding support here at the daily 21 exponential, which is roughly in this area. Daily right here. So right now it's coming in a little bit above price. In terms of price action, it looks fine for a short. It looks fine for a short as long as it's below yesterday's open. I would be okay with the short. I don't generally short when we're into the 21 like this, because it is usually looked at as a buying opportunity in an uptrend. I wouldn't say that euro is in an uptrend, but it is what it is. So the Bitcoin trade for the sellers, they're going to be looking to put that position on pretty soon. And in terms of risk is looking pretty good here today, pre-market. So I would imagine there is a little bit of a pullback there. Tesla ultimately broke under support yesterday, but has not gone anywhere since that happened. And they've already done earnings as well. And Nvidia still, well, it's currently rejecting all-time highs, but not by a lot. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on today. Circle. So when I see this kind of price action, I get really, really worrisome for those bears. Generally speaking, this is a rejection. This is a breakdown with a continuation move under support. So generally speaking, I want to see that hold. Could this end up holding? Yeah, it could, but I mean, at what point do you change the bias? I'm not going to sell at a moving average. I need an objective price. And I just don't see anything here just yet. But if you were to reject right here this morning, then you could potentially look for a short. I don't like it. This is a reversal. This is an obvious no. The sells are not working. So it feels like it's about to break out to the upside. So I wouldn't want to get in front of that. So the only way I could take a short on Circle today is if it, when the bell rings, if it fails and gets back under this and holds that as resistance. As of right now, you are breaking out. This is breaking out, right? Whenever we're, like if we were looking for a liquidation break, we would want to just see a wick above the liquidation point, which in this scenario would be right here. And then we would want to see the sellers show up and start to get that push. That isn't happening yet, but we're 10 minutes away from the New York Open. So that's what I'm looking at. That is a legit setup on Bitcoin. That is why Circle probably looks the way it does. So we'll give it a little bit of time here to see what they want to do when the bell rings. And I shall be right back. We'll look at gold and silver here in just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. All right. So let me take a look at Euro real quick. So there's a 4-hour supply zone there. That seems to be what is holding on the very near term. Structure still bullish here. So I can be a buyer on the euro all the way down to here, but it's got to hold there. And that's not using the news or anything. That's just going on technicals. So if we get a push down to here at the New York session and that holds, I might take a long there on euro. There's a lot of volatility here today in all the markets except Bitcoin. Bitcoin hasn't really done anything. It's currently up 0.7%. You got dominance up 22%. ETH's up. It's hit or miss out there, but nothing's down like majorly. So typically, if I'm looking for bearish price action, I would love to see the majority of my cryptos be red. We're pretty much at neutral on deltas, so that this is not showing us that it's bullish or bearish. It's neutral. That just means it is anybody's game. But if you're looking at volume in terms of your VWAP, it is definitely more bearish on this week's range. So it's just going to be time frame preference, how far are you looking out, and yada yada. That's gonna basically give you what signal to look for. If I wasn't blinded by the supply shock that has been happening throughout this entire bear market on Bitcoin, I would definitely be shorting this. So let's go take a look at Fartcoin and see if there is. Yeah, I'm not loving this either. The sellers are more aggressive today. That's good. For the short trade, you are below the weekly VWAP. That is also good for the short trade. On the 3-day time frame, for the last 4 sessions, you've been printing piano keys. So it's in price discovery. The bulls and the bears are duking it out. Looks more bearish here than it does bullish. So in order for me to be able to take a short on Fartcoin today, I would need to see a rejection from here at a bare minimum. And that's pretty much where it so far is rejecting. So if we get the bell, and when we get the bell in 5 minutes, if Fartcoin comes back up here and then falls, maybe I'll take the short on Fartcoin, as the deltas look good for a downside move. It's under the VWAP, so I've got checks in all the right boxes for the short. I just don't want to short near the low of day. Or, to be honest with you, really near the open. But same thing, bunch of piano keys, just sideways price action. The bulls haven't been able to win. The bears haven't been able to win. You just haven't been getting any continuation out of this thing. Not really. For the last, 10 days? It's been absolutely sideways. 12 days. Because you've got 3 full-on 3-day candles. So that's 12 days. This thing has been going sideways. All right. So bullish bias on Bitcoin, bullish bias on Euro. If it holds, look to take the short on Fartcoin. If it comes back to 2010 and fails, currently long Pingu, currently long Bitcoin. Long Bitcoin down here. I got long yesterday on Bitcoin. My exact long price on Bitcoin is 74,950. Oh, pretty much bottom ticked the wick. And the only reason I did that is because it was testing the daily 21 exponential. So we'll see what happens with it. It doesn't look good on the 4-hour time frame. If you look at Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, it definitely looks like a short, right? It definitely looks like a short. Because Bitcoin has been trending lower pretty much all week. It hasn't made a lower weekly low today, but it definitely did yesterday. So yeah, I would be generally, if I'm following the trend and not allowing my bias to override my decision making, this would be a short. But I am allowing my bias to override my decision making here on Bitcoin. So hopefully Fartcoin trades back up and gives me that short side setup as 2 minutes into the bell, until the bell, not unto the bell, until the bell. So we need the Euro to alert us here. And we need Fartcoin to alert us here. Now, if you get the bell and it slowly trades up for like 2 hours to get up here, then I would not be interested in shorting that. I almost need to see a candle like this back up into this area to even think about a short. And oil, I would be willing to set in this short on oil. So let me give you a good price to look for shorts on oil for anybody that likes or thinks that oil short. Yeah, if oil shorts are going to play out, yeah, it's got to play out here. So I'll be stopped out of oil if it makes a fresh 8-hour high. If it makes a fresh 8-hour high, I'll be stopped out of oil. And I wouldn't be interested in taking the oil short. Yeah. The deltas look primed for a big bullish run here. And so does this. Because originally this morning, your POC was up here. So your POC has migrated lower. And it's a lot more heavier bullish pressure. It's a lot more buying than selling. Now, at first, it was a lot of buying because this, when it pushed down into below this wick, you're obviously stopping out longs. So it should have been, I mean, yeah, it should have been a lot of aggressive selling, but it just wasn't. So if you're stopping out longs, it's sell side entries. So the selling should be more heavy down here, not the buying. This actually looks like buyers are stepping up. Buyers are stepping up to buy the dip today. Aggressively, I might add. Very aggressively. What's up? Good morning, everybody. Missed the last couple of streams. How are you? I'm good. How are you? Hopefully everything's been going good on your side of the wherever you are. Good morning. Good morning. I got long on silver last night. What do you think? All right, silver. Yeah, I mean, I like it. It looks really good here in terms of off the day low. It's under the daily 21, so generally speaking, it's also under the 50 on the daily time frame. That doesn't always mean that a bearish trend is about to start. So, I mean, it could still be looked at as a pullback. For me, I would be a little bit more near-term bearish bias unless the dollar rolled over. If the dollar rolls over, then you're going to have literally almost bought potentially the low. Now, I'm not looking at silver as though it's trading inversely to the dollar, right? That's not what I'm trying to say here. I know that if I want to buy silver, then having a weak dollar would help that bias, if that makes sense. But silver and gold are obviously going to trade under their own merits. People are buying silver. People are buying gold. I still see the gold and silver bugs out there. They're still, they still believe this thing is still going to $400 an ounce. And it is potentially possible in the next 10 years, but I don't see it getting up there this year. I don't see silver ever getting, not in any time in the next year or two, getting up that high. That would be an insane move on silver. You're talking about a massive move there. But I mean, could it hold support? Yeah, it could. This is a higher low. The day looks fine. You're going to see those silver sellers show up right here though. All right? For the day traders, they're going to be showing up right here. Your swing traders would probably give silver a little bit more room up to about 76.27. So I would be willing to put on a short on silver given this structure if it fails here. But I don't know that I would want to take the short on silver depending on what the dollar is doing. So, but you're long, so it doesn't matter. I think if the dollar weakens or continues to weaken today and tomorrow, I like your trade. Yeah, and I mean, you're now showing this isn't the actuals. Let me go pull up silver. I don't know. Are you short this, a perpetual contract on a crypto exchange, or are you short like on a Forex exchange? Because that does matter. Price action looks different. See, you're still bullish on the weekly here. You're actually testing the weekly 21. The weekly 21 has been holding for the last 4 weeks. Now your bears are definitely going to show up here today. But over here, this looks much better. This looks way better. You're already trading well above yesterday's high. That's a good sign. So if I bought yesterday's low and I was holding along here on this current asset, all right, this one, this is gold, I get it, but it looks good. Let me pull up the actual silver, dumbass. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that looks about better. That looks, because that's right. Yeah, but it still is, it's doing the same thing as gold is. So the charts are almost identical. The day looks different. But yeah, I mean, that's a good look. This is where you should be, like, if you're day trading it, you should be taking profits here. For sure. Because this is where the sellers would show up. It's where I would show up if I had a short signal. It is absolutely where I'd be trading it if I had a short signal. I don't have a short signal on the intraday chart, though. So things look okay. Oh, God, here we go. Things look okay, but yeah. Let me pull this last indicator up. Yeah, I don't have a short signal. So I like where the POC is for the short if I was going to take it, but I don't like the way the deltas look for the short. So it would be one of those signals that are, it's not a strong sell signal, but it could play out. So as a bull, if you bought the low day, you should be taking profits if it's a day trade. If you're holding it for long term, then ignore everything I just said. Because long term, it doesn't matter. You're going to mitigate price from wherever it is that you're long from. And you're looking to hold it long term. All right, so Bitcoin is currently putting in or trying to put in that fresh day high. Right here is the fresh day high. That's where the sellers, I would assume, will try to show up. Or where they may show up. I shouldn't say try. They may be right to sell it there. Fartcoin not really bouncing yet. Digital silver, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm trading to when I trade silver. Oh, look at Circle go. So it did reject, and it did reject hard. That's not a great sign for Bitcoin, probably. There it goes. Son of a biscuit. We were literally looking at it right when it rolled over almost. Yeah, I would imagine those Bitcoin bears are gonna show up. But I might not get a short off unless I do short Bitcoin. And I'm not going to close the long trade just to put on a short. It doesn't make sense. However, let's see what oil does here, because this could get bought up. That would have been a profit-taking move right there on Circle, though, for sure. But I'm glad that, yeah, for sure. If you would have put on the right size position with 20x leverage, that would absolutely have been a $300 win. The buyers could show up here. Is it likely that they do it? I don't know. We'll see. That is an aggressive move, but it's a stock. This happens all the time in the stock market where you get an aggressive move on the open. This is the actual opening price, but we were just looking at this thing while it was up here. And the buyers could show up. So maybe that doesn't affect Bitcoin at all. Euro also bouncing ahead of the level I'm watching. Hopefully it does come down there. So Bitcoin making that run right now up to the high of day, as oil trying to squeeze out early shorts. I don't know that I would short this, given this bullish structure, given this POC and all that. Down here, this low is what I'm saying. I like to short things up in the top of the daily range, not the bottom. So when I'm saying the top or the bottom, I generally referring to the midpoint. So like if you take the midpoint of this day, which is basically about here where my crosshairs are, if the asset is trading under the midpoint, I generally don't like to short it because I need continuation in order to even get a profit target. Whereas if I got it up here, I would just need it to get close to making a fresh low. NQ dumping, says Nonstopity. Is that a dump? It's giving it all back. I guess you could say it is, but it's at the bell. It's at the bell. Buyers could buy this. It could be a dip buy opportunity. You must be looking at a 30-second chart to say that. I mean, it's a pretty good dump. It's not even a 0.5% move. It's a pretty good steep correction, but this is a SPY, not the NQ. The NQ might be worse. Oh, on the bell, what's it down? Almost 1%. Is that a 50-point move on the NQ? Because that's generally what my profit target would be 50 points. If I'm scalping the NASDAQ. Yep, it's 3 times that. So yeah, it's a pretty good move. Let me get the SPY back up here. Big tech earnings yesterday. Let's go take a look at them real quick. Just the ones that reported. Apple did not report yet. Microsoft did. A lot of volatility on Microsoft. Amazon did. Amazon volatile this morning, and Google did. That's fresh all-time highs on Goog. Yeah. All right, there's the Bitcoin liquidation, or the day high liquidation. I mean, anybody that's shorted today, they have been stopped out. So now for us to be bearish, we would need to see a rejection. And so far, it kind of is. Bitcoin has lacked a lot of big, aggressive, bullish moves. Would love to see it start to get some of those back. Pingu still holding support. This is the near-term support. So as long as it's trading above that, I'm not going to get out of the short. I mean, long, sorry. I'm not short Pingu. I closed it this morning. I had a short on yesterday from here, so it obviously didn't go anywhere. It put in this move at 12:30, and that was the low. It has not gone anywhere. It stopped giving me downside continuation, even though the sellers were aggressive. That's always going to make me pause when I see that sellers are fairly aggressive, but I'm just not getting my downside continuation move. I mean, this is under the weekly VWAP, so it should be breaking down. Because it isn't, kind of makes me fearful to hold the short. In fact, if Pingu were to be able to get back up to here today, that's going to stop out a lot of shorts. So if you're holding a short on Pingu, you can continue to hold it. I can't tell you what price is going to do. That's the one thing I don't know. I know a lot in this business, but I don't know what price will do. Nobody does. It looks fine for downside continuation. So you might get it later. But I saw enough to say, you know what? This thing is not dumping like it should be. I'm done. I'll take my money here. And flipping the bias was a little bit aggressive. I should not have done that. I should have just taken profits and moved my stop to break even. That's usually what I do. I don't flip my bias. I will usually just take profits, move my stop. But to be honest with you, it just felt good that Bitcoin was probably going to run today. But that's only if the dollar continued to sell off. Not really doing that thanks to the Lagarde press conference. So it did have a really good move lower. Damn, this dollar chart is always so lagged up. It did have a good move lower, and I would anticipate that that move continues today. So I'd be hard pressed to be bearish with that happening on Bitcoin. But here is that rejection. So short sellers are now in their positions. Stops are at high of day. Oil has still not done anything. Oil is trading kind of slow. I'd be so worried if I was a bull and saw this. I'd be very worried if I was a bull and saw this on oil. You want this to continue to roll over if you're a bull on oil. Bitcoin is rejecting. Oh, Fartcoin almost got up there. You love Fartcoin? I used to love Fartcoin back in, I mean, I keep it on watch, but we shorted it at 149 or 140. And we've kept it on the watch list because it has good liquidity, and when it's trending, it moves really good. When I say good liquidity, it's easy to get in and out of decent sized positions. You get good fills on it and things like that. So for a cash flow generating asset, I love it. But since that low was put in February, Fartcoin has been a very sideways, very shitty asset to trade because of this, right? It has not been a good trending asset. And it's those Feb lows. This thing has done nothing. It has been very choppy, very range bound, very small ranges. It has not been a good mover. But if you back up from February and look back on Fartcoin, and we were bearish, like I said, from $1.40, it was a very good trading asset. We made a lot of money trading Fartcoin and Pingu to the downside in October. June and July is when we started shorting Fartcoin, though. But you can see since this low was put in February, it hasn't really gone anywhere. So we have not been very active in Fartcoin for the last 3 months. Yeah, that's why we've been looking at other things like oil and silver and things that are moving. We like to trade things that move consistently. Oh, there comes a nice move lower on that. Hopefully it doesn't roll over here on you. But I mean, it looked okay for a short. Short on BTC from Sunday. Yeah, there would be no reason to close that. Not with this price action. You will have to make a decision on Bitcoin because you're short on Sunday. If it starts closing, higher time frame candles like 30-minute, hour, 4-hour above the VWAP, then you're being threatened. As of right now, you're not being threatened. Your position is not being threatened at all. You're paying a funding rate to be short, but your position is fine. It's when you're above that green line, that's when your position is potentially being threatened. So I wouldn't do anything if it was me. And if I was short from up here, I would not do anything today. Nothing at all. The bonk is another one that we were paying attention to because it was a big runner early in 2025. And then the second half of 2025, it was a big stinker. So we were shorting it as well. And as you can see, same scenario. Since February's low, nothing. It has done nothing. That's pretty much been the entire crypto market, though, not just those. Bitcoin hasn't really done anything from the February's low either. Now, Bitcoin is up 30%. Pingu at one point from those lows was up 90%. So, I mean, but I mean, there just hasn't been much trending action happening. April was a nice little uptrend. It wasn't going up aggressively, but it was a decent uptrend. Right here is when your April open occurred, and it's been pretty much up from there. But this is the level that Bitcoin must beat to the upside, I think, to actually start a squeeze. Let me get euro dollar back. Not euro dollar, but yeah, I gotta leave that there. Let me get dollar yen back up here. Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna see much more on this today. 2.2%. That's a big move. All right, sellers, you need this thing to roll over here. You don't want to see this. Not really. The bulls do want to see this. The sellers, no. The sellers want to see this start to roll over pretty damn soon. Start to head back down to 76. We longs like it though. Short on big. Okay, read that. Good morning from rainy Ireland. Good morning. Good morning. I would love to go to Ireland one day. Would love to go there. Stand on those grassy cliffs and just look over at the sea. That Kerry Gold commercial that comes on TV here, for me, it's like, it's just makes Ireland look so beautiful. For anybody that doesn't know, Kerry Gold is a butter commercial. They have a bunch of cows on a green pasture overlooking a massive rock cliff with the ocean behind it. It's amazing. Yeah, digital silver got that. Longed XRP yesterday at one spot 3550. Here, I'll pull it up on Circle's chart instead because I want to keep USD JPY up. So 3550 looks like you tried to bottom ticket. It's fair enough. I tried to bottom tick Bitcoin yesterday. It looks fine here, but I mean, I would be way more concerned about this rolling over because it's just not that aggressive on the upside swing or the upside push. It was far more aggressive on the downside break yesterday. This is going to have sellers trying to get back involved with it today. Because the sellers, they never quit trying to be short, right? They always want to be short. And this is trending lower, so I see no reason to try an up trade on this asset. In terms of the April open, it hasn't done anything really. It did. The first part of the month, it didn't do anything. It was sideways. Then it broke out. That's a good sign. Then you want to see bulls step up and pick it up on a higher low support. Well, so far, they have not done that. So this is going to have a much larger monthly wick on it. Now, with that being said, getting long where you got long, not a bad trade. It's close to the monthly open. This today is the monthly close, though. So if you're looking at this in terms of the monthly range, it's still up, but it's well under the midpoint. You need to see XRP close above this today. Can it? I mean, maybe. Going forward next month, I would want to see it open the next monthly range, come to here, and then rally. Because that's your monthly open for April. That would be constructive if it could do that. So, I mean, getting long late month, not a great idea, but it can be, because the next month, tomorrow, will be the new monthly open, and it could just rally all day tomorrow. But I mean, that's just wishful thinking. Looking at this on the daily time frame, it looks like it's still bearish. Your 21's below the 50. You want the 50 to be under the 21. You want price to be above the 21. This looks weaker than it does strong. But because I can't see into the future, I can't tell you what it'll do in the future. So far, it's holding, but it doesn't look like they're strong. The bulls do not look aggressive here. And according to the Coinbase data, they are not. They are not strong today. I think if Bitcoin can hold and the buyers show up, then maybe XRP rallies. But Bitcoin's got a lot to prove here. Like I said, this would be a sell for me. It would still be fine for a sell here if I wasn't allowing my own personal biases to override my trading system. Like the rules that I use to put trades on. If I didn't allow that, I would be shorting Bitcoin. But occasionally I overrule the rules. I just don't allow that to get me in trouble. Take my shot at it, and then if it works, good. If it don't, oh well. I took the shot, right? But a lot of resistance here on the near term for Bitcoin to deal with. And it's also going to have to deal with oil strength, or at least, I wouldn't call this oil strength. I would actually say this looks good for a lower low. Oh, if you get that, that would be helpful, probably. Just nothing is moving aggressively to the upside yet. We'll see what happens if it makes a fresh day high. VWAP just above. People will be trying to short a VWAP test. But it looks good. You see how Bitcoin is above its 50-day? The 21 is above the 50-day. Price is above the 21. Can you see the difference there, Jewelry Affairs? Why Bitcoin would be a better candidate for a long than XRP. In terms of relative strength, Bitcoin has more relative strength than XRP does. Moving averages, obviously, in a sideways market are not going to be very helpful. There are trend indicators. But they do really good job of showing us as technical traders momentum. It's not a momentum indicator, but it does a really good job showing us momentum because we can look at where price is trading relative to those averages. And because of that, we can see momentum. So this is clearly a far better asset to be looking for longs than XRP based on this technical structure. Because it's all under the 200, that still signifies long-term trend weakness. Long-term trend weakness. But on the near term, for the month of April, the structure looks good, and you can see how it's repairing itself. It's in repair. So eventually, once all moving averages are back to being bullish, that's when this thing could take off, like to the upside, like crazy. Because even then, the long-term trend is reversed, right? And that's what people look at moving averages for. That's why technical trading works. Because you don't need a degree to look at moving averages. There's no secret code or anything. You just plot them and let them tell you the strength of trend and momentum and all that. It's not going to guarantee that you're going to make money, but it's still a better setup, if you will. Bitcoin could roll here, close down here today, and then all of that, what I just said, goes right out the window. And that literally could happen. There is resistance of overhead. But it is doing what I want to see it do to show me signs of repair. That's what I want to see. I want to see it retest strategy's cost basis and hold above it. And so far, it is doing that, as you've got those two tests right there. One test, two tests, and that's a higher low. So it looks good for repair. If it could get above the weekly VWAP and hold above that going into tomorrow, that'll look even better. That'll be more evidence that Bitcoin is in repair. That the bears are no longer in control, even though they think they are. That will go a long ways, because the smart traders that are holding shorts right now, like your better traders out there, your swing traders or whatnot, technical traders that have been doing this for years profitably, they will start to close those short side positions. They will start to see that. They'll start to see that it's repair, and then there's no point in holding the short any longer. They're in profit down here, but if they let it repair much further, they won't be in profit anymore. So the few days that they've held the short, depending on how long they've been holding it, at some point, depending on how high it gets in this range, from this green line to this yellow line, their trade won't even be profitable anymore because of the funding fees that they've paid to hold the short. And then that's when you can start seeing more bullish aggression as that demand starts to enter the market. But I mean, we're still a long ways from that happening. As long as Bitcoin is trading under this, the bears are not even remotely concerned. I wouldn't be either. Not yet. The one thing that has not been working in this entire wedge or channel formation is the dip buy opportunity. It hasn't really been that effective since February. I mean, there have been dip buying opportunities, but they have not been effective, right? They didn't last very long, or it's just not been an effective trade. So it's still not trending. Right through here, it started to get a little effective. So this is where the bulls definitely want to see Bitcoin hold. And if it can, then we can say, okay, next test or next potential big resistance, 82,236. We'll see what it does when it gets there. But it must compete with this right here, right now, first. Oil trying to rain on that parade. I don't even know where a good short would be in this because all of this happened in so quick. I guess I would want to see. I guess I would have to fib that high to this low and hope the 786 holds. But I mean, we'll see if it does that or not. I don't think there'll be a trade to take on this today or tomorrow. If there is a trade to take on it, it'll be next week. And that's a big if. So weekly open, if it gets back up to there, that's where we would want to see it fail. I think it's probably because of, well, I don't have to think. I know it is because of the spread still. The short on this is still very expensive to hold for a swing trade. Until you get US lowering rates or the BOJ hiking rates, that spread is still wide. So sellers are still paying to hold this short. All right, Bitcoin showing signs of weakness now. The sellers are starting to lick their chops a little bit here. What did Fartcoin do? Did Fartcoin never come back? No, it did not. Okay, so simply because Fartcoin is showing signs of fatigue here, that might not be a good sign for Bitcoin. And for the bulls that bought down in here this morning, they're definitely going to want to see this thing start to move to the upside pretty damn soon. As it's been 45 minutes, about an hour. The weekly range is pretty much already set in stone. So they might try to wait to get it next week. I don't know. Too much risk still out there. Headline risk. Lagarde is, I don't know if she's still speaking or not. But just like Trumpety Trump, she has a way of messing things up too. Nice little squeeze there. Hey Heath, how are you doing? What do you take of the Japanese Fin minister and potential intervention? Looks like intervention to me. The last time they intervened on a good CPI print. So what should have been a good bullish day for the dollar ended up being a nasty bearish day. And that's the day they intervened because they had all liquidity, pointed to up. So they sold into that. So I wanted to watch what happened after the FOMC print with the USDJPY to see if they potentially intervened. I think Bloomberg said that they hinted again last night that they would intervene. But they haven't come outright and said, yes, we have intervened. It looks like intervention. So if they didn't intervene financially speaking, like if they actually did not go in there and inject money into the system, they did it by mouth, just by speaking. So either way, it is a form of intervention. Oh, if you don't see downside continuation on that USD JPY trade, then they did not intervene financially. I think that's what's going to be necessary in order to get a downtrending dollar. As long as the carry trade is still that valuable, there's no point to unwind it. They do not want to intervene. They would rather the investors just quit buying it or selling it. You know, they're selling the yen. They wish they would just quit doing that, because then they wouldn't have to intervene. But that's not usually how it works. Usually when one side of the market is stressed, the market likes to beat that side up. Whether it's out of place money managers or a central bank, the market does not care. It doesn't care what I want to do. It doesn't care what they want to do. They have the money and the power to change it, though. I do not. Bitcoin gonna give those bulls one last opportunity here to try to get long, I think. Still not seeing anything working out there. Oh, I'm not looking at 5-minute moving averages. I just forgot to turn those off, please. Turn those off, thank you. We don't need those. Pingu failed to break out above 4-hour res. That's not a good sign either. It was here for a minute and it's failing. There's no other way to say it. It is failing. That does not look great. Very choppy here. So, I mean, anything could happen, but this is the obvious trading range. So it's looking like it wants to head to the lower side of that range and test the liquidity down there. It could hold here, but I usually don't look for that. Not on this small of a chart time frame. It looks to me like it definitely wants to test liquidity on the bottom side of the range. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But I would have liked to have seen it break out here and start squeezing some sellers. That is not happening. Oil is also squeezing late sellers here. Anybody that's been selling here, starting to squeeze those folks. That POC has moved again. Wait, let's go out to the 30-minute and see if it's still down. Yeah, it's still down here. But nonetheless, it has moved back up into here where there was some heavy selling pressure. Pretty much back to my entry. That's why I don't like to chase price, because of that right there. Just a retest or a pullback can get you. Up here would be the better area to look for shorts. I wouldn't even be interested in a short now that there's been this. So I'll hold what I have open. If it gets stopped out, I'm not going to try to put a different one on. This is probably like the final stop run here for the downside continuation move. If I had to guess. Or the last opportunity for intraday sellers to try to get in on a move lower. Hypothetically speaking, it's a 2.5% move down to the day lows. It's just a 4-hour midpoint check, so it looks fine for downside continuation. If it gets back up in here, then it starts to look like a reversal. The bulls are nice and aggressive here. So, I mean, if it does roll over, it could be a large move. A large one. Because of how aggressive these buyers have been the last 2 days. Last 3 days, I would argue. Very aggressive bulls here. Very aggressive yesterday and very aggressive today. Some of those people would start to get stopped out if this thing starts to get back down into here. We could see a nice move lower. So I'm not seeing anything that caused me to close the trade. But it's not working out yet. Bitcoin with a big wick lower. Getting back down to the 930 low. There's your 930 candle. So New York opened there. Spoos is up, but not much. Yesterday's close is here. So because you're above yesterday's close, it is up slightly on that. But not a very good bounce off that pre-market sell-off. Morning, Heath. Would you please take a look at HPQ on the monthly, building a position near the 300 EMA? Never looked at a 300 EMA, but I can. HPQ. So I have a 200 on. I guess I could put, what, like a 289 simple? $300 simple? A 300 EMA, because EMAs put more weight on near-term price. Simples just take calculation from all of price. But the weighting on the EMA is more on the near term. So the 300 EMA would be somewhere in here. I don't know what this is, HPQ. I have no idea. It doesn't look great. It trends from bottom left to top right, so that's good. Momentum hit oversold. So does it do a good job of cycling from low to high? From high to low. From low to high. High to low. Yeah, it does. To be fair, it does. So, I mean, I could make the argument that this would be a good long-term investment. And yeah, if you were buying, say, around 18 bucks, I don't see it's not a terrible idea. Just make sure you mitigate your risk. It could take a long time to play out, because here's the thing. You've had 2 cycles from high to low, and it hasn't really gone anywhere. So for almost 5 years now, this thing has been sideways. That would be good if it can hold these prices. You see what I'm saying? Like, on a 10-year outlook, it's not a great trender, because it was for the first 5 years, but the second 5 years has not. It's not a growth asset, but it still could work out. So yeah, I see no reason with building a position around 18 bucks with a stop around 16. I don't know, just keep your position sizing under control. And I see nothing wrong with it. On the long term, it looks fine. But I definitely would want to see it get back to the top side of the range and then break out on this next cycle. The problem is the cycle is showing price has a lot more momentum than it actually does. So that's kind of concerning to me here on the very near term. Like, it hasn't even gone anywhere yet, and it's saying it's close to the midpoint. Generally, I would want to see an aggressive pop. This is not an aggressive pop. Could that... I mean, it's not really a divergence or anything. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah, I would be a buyer at $18 with the caveat that I'm not going to give it much room under 18. But other than that, it looks okay. It damn near doubled. So if you go back to 2016, if you were a buyer around that time at the cycle lows, and when I say cycle lows, I'm specifically referring to the RSI cycle, not a Fourier cycle or anything like that. Just the RSI, momentum, because momentum is cyclical as well. So as long as you're buying around the cycle lows, you did actually damn near triple in value. So for that, I would say, okay, I'm willing to give it a shot at 18, but I wouldn't be buying it now. I'm a strong proponent of be a buyer under oversold if possible, and only if the asset on a 10-year basis is trending. Those are the assets that I want to buy. Assets that are trending 10 years on cycle lows. Those are good assets to invest in. And I'm not looking to double my money or anything like that. Just if I can generate some kind of profit, be fine with it. 18 bucks. And then see what happens with it. Bitcoin's still struggling here. The bears have been short since 940. 940 is when they put the short on. Almost an hour now, and Bitcoin gave them one leg lower and 0.5%. So it is holding up pretty damn good here. I like it. I like it higher. It still looks fine to go higher today. Now, if it cuts loose in the next 10 minutes and drops back down to 75.5, obviously I'm wrong. But if it keeps looking like this for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, I would be very concerned if I was a bear. Today. Especially today. Because it hasn't really gone... I wouldn't have been able to take profits on this move. I would still be holding the short. It looks like a far more aggressive downside move than it actually is what I'm trying to say. It's not really a big move. DXI rolling over 2. That's what we want to see for Bitcoin bull. Yeah. That's going to be, what is it? Is it coming from this? No, it isn't. It's coming from Euro specifically. Good. Like I said, I could be a buyer as low as 1.16799. You didn't get an actual test of it, but it's good enough, right? So this is what I want to see. But I'm also short oil, so I would like to see oil also confirm that Euro move right now and start heading lower. But it is starting to look good. Bitcoin should rally. Or at least it has enough confluence in other markets to where you could make the argument that there is a slight risk on feel out there today. Pingu also just popped above 4-hour res. So it did go right down to the middle of that range, like I said. I didn't think it would bounce from there, though. And it absolutely bounced. So about the midpoint of this range, that wick traded right in it. And boom, higher high. Nice. That's what we want to see, but we want to see it continue to do that. What's Ethereum doing today? Similar. Yeah, it's similar to Bitcoin. It's just chopping sideways here all day. Very small range day. Very muted day. Ethereum hasn't even tested yesterday's open yet. Yeah, Bitcoin right back up to the previous day high, which was here. Now, if you're short here, you're getting really worried about this right about now. Concerned. It's a little bit higher and you won't have to be worried about anything because you will be stopped out. VIX currently trading at 1761 and heading lower. That's also more positive for longs. Silver still holding. You're not seeing it trend yet to the downside, so the silver long might pop as well. So, like, for Bitcoin to rally, I think gold and silver's rally would probably be not done, but you're probably going to see a lot more sideways choppy price action out of silver moving on for as we go further into 2026. As I would assume some gold and silver bugs would take profits if they got long any time after 2024. And start rotating those profits into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is still, it's not in value here at 76K. 67K was decent value. But I mean, some people don't invest at value, they just invest. Dollar back down to the yearly open range, almost. Yeah, that's going to be a purely Euro move. Because the USD JPY did not move that aggressively lower. USD JPY testing the yearly opening range. Massive move on that, man. Holy cow. It's been a long time since I've seen a 2% move on USD JPY intraday. Absolute bananas. That's why I kind of thought Bitcoin would rock and roll today. But here we are, and it still isn't. So Bitcoin is just sluggish. Got a lot of overhead resistance. Oil still pushing. Well, to be fair, it was a little bit late to the move lower. Let's see. It didn't really start. Well, that's when I looked at it. It was 6:30. I guess it started to roll over about the same time, 2:30. It's just a muted move. It just wasn't aggressive. Lower. This is Brent crude. This isn't U.S. oil, but U.S. oil looks very similar. But whereas Brent crude has reversed this entire 30-minute range lower, U.S. has not. The U.S. oil is topped out right about here. So right back to my entry. Kind of makes me think that euro move is going to get reversed based on what Bitcoin is doing and based on what oil is doing. Kind of makes me feel like that euro move probably going to get reversed. Pingu looks good though. At least it broke out above 4-hour res, but I mean, it's not a fresh day high. So resistance can come in here. It absolutely could come in here. This was resistance. It just didn't hold. Now people are going to be looking to sell it there. If it gets up there. I don't take trades off of averages, but other people do. So it may not go any further than that. We'll see what it does. There's not much strength in it at all. This move right here is small in comparison. Pingu has moved 18% in a day before. That's barely a 3% move. So right here would be your selling opportunity on oil. You've literally stopped out everybody from 630. If it's going to go lower though, I don't know that it is. It might not. There's not a higher time frame level to look at. So you might want to wait on taking that trade until you get a retest of this up here. So I could make the argument, because there's still an hour and 20 minutes left in this candle. I could make the argument if it fails to close above this, I could still be a seller. There is a lot of buying aggression in this asset today, though. And obviously it's been bullish all week. It's bullish on the weekly range. It could make a fresh weekly high today. That's what I'd be worried about. But this is where I got into the short originally this morning. I chased it. I chased it 100%. That's going to be the last opportunity to try to get involved on it until 111.91. So you might want to leave oil alone because it isn't really looking good for the short. How is Farcoin looking? It isn't doing anything. It's near lows. Day low on Farcoin is 1949. So you're just like, it's definitely weaker today. If you look at today's range, it's definitely weaker. You made it all the way up to here today, but now you're back down towards the low of day. So it does feel not great for risk, or at least shitty crypto risk. Not many people are buying a fart coin. I can tell you that right now. The thing has zero value. Zero value. Low of day is going to be right there. I don't like that Bitcoin defended its CME gap. Let's go pull up the CME chart. I don't know what gap you're talking about. Just give me a second. I'll find it. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. So in this scenario, you could say that the resistance came in at the CME gap. I would argue and say it's probably more because it's February's high than the fact that it's a gap, right? It is a big gap, though. I mean, that's the actual gap. Because it closed there on Friday and then opened here on Monday. So that was the gap down. I only have the gap from that day's low to Monday's high. So this is really the only gap that's left. So some people do gaps subjectively all the time. But it's February's high. That's what's so important about that level. And it coincides with spot market too. February's high. It's resistance because that's the last liquidity pinch point. There's a lot of liquidity up there. Lots of liquidity. But yeah, it did defend it, didn't it? I didn't really, that lower side gap, I don't know if I would even call that, because I did see that lower side gap that I had on the chart here. I mean, is it? It is. But, because you closed here and gapped up. But the intraday price action opened there. So if you don't count what happened in that day, there is still a gap down here. But because that, like, I would say there's not even really a gap here. This is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, open, close, open, close, open. If it was a Friday, or if this was a Friday and this was a Monday, then you probably would have wicked back down into 69,230. It would have been a decent buying opportunity. But because it's midweek, I don't even know that I would count that gap. But it is still a gap, an unfilled gap. And price could definitely get down there if it does fail to get back above 78,380. It could definitely get back down here. We think there is a supply shock coming on Bitcoin, but when it comes, we don't know. When will it come? We don't know. That's the one thing we will never be able to time. That's why I just started buying at 67 and said, screw it. I'll buy at 67 and be done with it. And if it drops and makes fresh yearly lows, I'll pick it up down there as well. It still looks fine for repair. But I would like to see those bulls able to pick it up and get that higher low support. That would look really good moving forward going into next week. Also, a lot more people will be prone to look for longs next week if Bitcoin holds support here at 75.3. If, and that's a big if today it fails, you get an expansion lower and then you close under 75.3 today, that's going to feel more bearish than bullish. So today is a very important day in terms of sentiment moving forward in the next week. You did mention 68K looked like a good buying opportunity after the GDP print. I think reloading down there makes sense, but momentum could easily shift to the upside for a fill of that 84. Yeah. I would argue that momentum looks fine. On the longer term, the bulls have been able to pick it up off the lows, and that does look good. But I would like to see more aggressive momentum away from that daily 21. That's what I would love to see. I would love to see aggressive bullish momentum above the daily 21. Today and tomorrow would be beautiful. It still looks okay for that to happen. It's being very choppy, but from where New York opened to where price is right now, it has been over an hour. It's been an hour and 15 minutes since you've gotten a New York open. This candle is your New York open. So in a sense, what has price done? Well, it had 3 minutes of, or 3 5-minute candles of expansion up. And then that's the first 15 minutes. And then the rest of the time, it retested the New York Open and is still higher than the New York Open. So to me, that still feels more bullish than it does bearish. Now, that would be different, obviously, if you're closing candles under that New York Open. If you start closing candles down under here, then it starts to feel like the bears did, in fact, win at the New York session open. But even then, that's not a very big move. So being fair and not giving them an entry at this line perfectly. Let's say they caught shorts here. That's 10 minutes of trading. Let's say they got lucky and they caught it there. Well, so even if they get under the New York Open, it's not even a full percent move. So that's definitely not momentous. There is no momentum here on either side yet. You're still in price discovery. People are still watching to see what oil and dollar does, I guess. Oil is not rolling over. Oil has a lot of aggressive buyers in it. So oil might not be done going up. It is very bullish. I kind of felt like since dollar was getting spanked today, that oil would probably roll over. And it did not do that. That's the market showing me that I don't know quite as much as I think I do. Oil is not a good short because of that cumulative volume delta. And because of that POC. It's just not a very good short. We like to short weak assets that have bearish pressure, not bullish assets with bullish pressure, because those tend to get stopped out more frequently. So when you short a weak asset and it has weak selling, like a lot of selling pressure, it's already weak and it has downside momentum, those are going to be your best short trades. Those are going to be the trades that work out the best. What did Circle go on and do? Like, Circle opened out the gate fast to the downside. That's kind of what I would have wanted to see if I was looking for shorts. And it did. It's still just an inside day, though. You've got everything you need here. Price is under the 21. Check. It's under the 250 as well. You're under the 50 on the RSI, so you do have bearish momentum. And if you go look at it on an intraday basis, pull up the deltas, see how strong the deltas are to the downside. Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to think that this bounces against that. It did yesterday, though. Look how aggressive the sellers were yesterday. About the same, right? About the same aggression. And the bulls were able to come in late session and take it right back up and make fresh day highs. That could happen here as well. But if I was looking for a short for downside continuation, this would register as a potential trade op. A trade opportunity. Dollar is puking. That's a fresh day low on the DXY. That's a good sign. I like that. I like that a lot. Hopefully that helps Bitcoin break out here today. But it isn't yet. Euro ended up being a good long. That would be target, profit, target. So target hit. We were looking for longs here. Fresh high day, you take profit, scale out. That's exactly what we're looking for on Bitcoin as well. So the same thing, but it just isn't happening over here. But that is what I wanted to see. Bitcoin had a lot more weakness in it. It's got a lot of strength in it now. Not a lot, but it's definitely not showing that the bears got it. That's a good sign. So maybe Bitcoin does break out later on today. Who knows? We'll see. It would be nice if this ends up becoming the weekly low. It would be real nice. Very nice. But oil is still not rolling over. Too much bullish pressure in it. You oil bulls, you need to go away. You need to go away. You all have had your fun. Now it's time for the bears to have some fun with this thing. Let us get some, will ya? Can you check out BE or SNDK for potential shorts? Okay, so just because they're extremely stretched from the 21, that's not a good short side candidate. We can look at them, though. BE first. Yeah, no. So, I mean, you can short it if you want to. It might pull back. It has been very aggressive, but this is the exact opposite to what I want to look for when I'm taking a short. I want to be long this product. I probably would have tried to get long in here, and obviously I would have been stopped out. But I probably would have tried it again here. And then I would have made it. So I definitely don't like the idea of being short because the shorts are being squeezed right now, and that could continue to go. In terms of what levels would I look, there aren't any. You are at fresh all-time highs. So if I'm looking for an objective level to get short at because it worked last time, you don't have any of those. You don't have an objective level to look for too short here. So essentially, you're just going to have to watch this week's high. That's all you've got. Could you try to short next week if you run above this week's high and then fail? Yeah, I guess. But you're still taking a short when the bulls have clearly got the momentum. We want to put trades on with momentum. We want to catch the momentum early, or try to, and then ride the momentum. We don't want to be the guy in the market that's like, I think it's too high, because that never works out. Just go look at that crypto asset the other day that literally had the whole internet screaming manipulation because it was at 99 on the RSI. And it went up another $20 for the next 8 days. Like, just because it's overbought doesn't mean that it's going to reverse anytime soon. I would agree with you that some people should be taking profits, and that could cause a small pullback. But I don't think you don't have the bearish trade. And it's today's high. So you're going to be on the wrong side of it, but it could work. It's one of those scenarios. You're on the wrong side of momentum, but the trade itself could work because nobody knows what the future holds. SNDK. This is SanDisk. This is MU. Very similar. Yeah. These things are they're ripping so hard right now because memory is so expensive to buy. This is a memory company. They build memory chips. So their profits are soaring because of how expensive their products are based on supply and demand. I would never get in. I would not try to get in front of that. You're just trying to pick a random top because you think it's overbought, or it is overbought. But today you gapped up to fresh all-time highs. You're pulling back, but tomorrow could do the same thing. You gap up to 1150 or 1200. Very dangerous shorts. Very dangerous. Be careful, as this asset's moving a lot. It's a high dollar product, and it has the luxury of having all the momentum on the upside right now. It is getting overbought. It is losing a little bit of steam, but that's not enough to short it. Not for me. I wouldn't buy it either, though. It's way too expensive for me to buy it. That's my problem with getting long oil right now. It's just way too expensive. That was my problem with getting long silver. That's, yeah, all of those things. I don't like to buy super expensive assets. I like to get in them when they're cheap and then sell them high. All right, let's go take a look at it. So Bitcoin's still not able to find that bullish momentum. Euro looking pretty good here this morning, but it's still got a big level of resistance overhead. This level acted as resistance last time. I was short Euro. I had to close it this morning because of that dollar spike. I imagine a lot of that's going on today. But I knew I wanted to get long because of momentum, the bullish momentum. And now there it is. So that's a good trade. Good trade. Oil did not work, and it still is not working. It could work, but I'll be interested again if it can get up here and show me, show me if the bears show up again. Other than that, I just don't know. It's got too much bullish pressure here, man. That's aggressive buying. That's not just buying, it's aggressive buying. These people are very much convicted that oil is going higher today. That is conviction if I've ever seen it. And I don't want to usually get in front of that either. The sellers are showing up at least now, but they're getting cleaned out. If this doesn't roll over soon, it could spike up to 111.87 in a minute. In a snap of a finger. Not a great short. Silver still rolling over. S&P right back up to the open. Could it fail here? It could. It's overbought. Not overbought on the weekly. It's overbought on the daily. This looks like a freaking rejection. A sell side rejection. But I mean, clearly it's losing momentum. But this is a bull flag. As long as it's making higher lows, it's threatening another upside break and run. I just do not know why Bitcoin will not get involved with that. It will eventually. There's that move higher on oil. Like I said, it's super bullish here, guys. Be careful with this thing. We got 1 minute and 41 seconds on this close. Let's see if this stays like this. Because this can change. Don't ever jump in on that. Let this candle close. Because this candle could close, and that would just be a wick. That's pretty heavy selling pressure, though, if it stays like that. Big selling pressure here. Maybe. It's 11:04, so it's late. If it is going to roll over, it's late. Taking its sweet ass time. That's a big concern at the moment, in my opinion, says Lunar Entity trend has been sheepish in its reversal from 60K. Yeah, it is. It's a problem for me too. It really is. It kind of shows a lack of it just, people are not convinced. It shows a lack of conviction for sure. But here's the thing. If it does start ripping, most likely it'll be too aggressive, and at that point, it'll just be too late. That's what I'm afraid of. So we did get a close on that 5-minute candle, and it does look like that was a little bit of selling pressure there. Is it enough to make it roll over? I don't know. Only time will tell. You definitely want to see that continue. 3 or 4 for the next 3 or 4 candles. You would love to see that seller aggression continue, and you would like to see price confirm it by heading in that same direction. It still is not a good short because of the buyer's early aggression. If it rolls over, it was always going to, is the way I look at it. It was always going to. And this retest just got a little bit deeper because it was stopping early shorts out and continuing to grind those stops out. I'd say leave oil alone, to be honest with you, because the move that I'm looking for generally comes from 9:30 to 11. That's the move. If you don't get it, then it is what it is. We didn't get it. I'm no longer involved in oil. I got stopped out. The only 2 positions that I have left open is a Bitcoin long and a Pingu long. And neither one of those are working out. And this doesn't look good for the long. Bitcoin looks okay around the board. Like, everything looks fine. It's just, it's got a lot of resistance overhead. I mean, it is very sideways. It has not gone anywhere since 9:30. And in that same amount of time, Euro has already, like, went all the way back up and made fresh day highs. Dollar has broken down, made fresh day lows. There's very light pressure, light trading, or whatever. I don't know. It's just sideways AF. Piece of garbage. I will keep my eyes on oil, but I'm not gonna do anything unless it gets back up to here and fails. There's no real legitimate reason to roll over here now except for that. So, I mean, maybe now it does go. Look at this piece of shit. There she blows. I think that happens, Bitcoin breaks out to the upside. If oil does roll over, Bitcoin breaks out. I would almost guarantee it. I said almost. I think they need to sweep London low before up. I don't know what asset you're talking about. I've been flipping from asset to asset. I can assume you're speaking about Bitcoin. Let's find the London low. Today is Thursday, so this is your London low. came in an hour before the London session open. So you think Bitcoin needs to come all the way down there before it goes up today? No, it wouldn't do that. If it comes all the way back down here, it's done for the day and it's going lower. You know what I mean? That would be a 2% move. Oh, well, not quite, but almost. I mean, that's about what Bitcoin is moving all day, every day right now. That would be a big move, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. Other people have different opinions. It's okay. Your opinion is that's what you think it would need to do. I don't. I honestly think that if oil rolls over, Bitcoin rips to the upside today. Probably closes up in here somewhere today. It may not, but that would be my base case. Yeah, that would be my base case. That's why I was bullish today. That's why I'm still bullish. That's why I bought Pingu, because if Bitcoin rips today, then maybe Pingu will too. It might not, but it was worth a shot. That is my base case. And that oil would roll over. That was also my base case coming into today. And it is starting to look like that is probably a good base case. The bastard just, it went too high. And it wasn't an aggressive went too high either. It took literally an hour to go from here almost to where it is. I mean, an hour. That is a 1.5% move. So oil has already moved more than Bitcoin has in terms of percent. That's weird. We'll see what happens with it all, but yeah, on Bitcoin, got you. There's a reason institutions love the buy high, sell higher mentality. Momentum is king. Yeah, and I agree with that. That is true. That is why you see these assets literally skyrocketing. Yes, that is the truth. They buy high and sell higher. Yep. You want momentum on your side, especially if you're trying to learn to be a day trader. You definitely want day trading momentum on your side. You're looking for swing trading. You want that momentum on your side as well. Going against the momentum, against order flow, it just does not work out as often if you were going with trend, with momentum. It's hard for retail to do that because I think a lot of retail thinks very negatively. Like I said, I have a lot of people that I follow and stuff like that, and there are so many people that literally think Bitcoin's going to $30,000 by June. You know what I mean? Like, they're convinced. They're so convinced that they almost roll their eyes when they make videos and shit. They're like super cocky. Like, yeah, it's going up now, but you know, because they're not paying attention to momentum. They're not paying attention to all of that stuff. They're going by what happened last time. Like, okay, go ahead, do you, I'll do me. But yeah, people are very bearish. There's people on Twitter right now calling for the S&P to top out now. It's like, dude, why didn't it go lower here? Like, it didn't need to go, like, it had already taken out November's low. It had taken out, like, October's low. Like, why did it stop going down here? So you mean to tell me that this move right here isn't going to change your bias? Like, this move So you're looking at this move and you're still holding shorts most likely from down here, and you're just at that point you're delusional and lying to yourself, is the way I feel about it. Like, that's my opinion on what they're doing. Obviously, the market couldn't go any lower, or it would have. So if we were going to go into a bear market in 2026, you had a brand new war. You had skyrocketing oil prices, which was making inflation skyrocket. The Fed literally quit lowering interest rates. You had everything on your side. And it did not go lower. It did the exact opposite. It went higher. And now you guys are all stuck. So now it can go higher. It can continue to climb for the rest of the year, probably, depending on how big that short squeeze is. Like, that's a massive freaking gap on the SPY. Massive gap. That was when everybody got squeezed. Boom. Everybody was short right here. Dead cat bounce, get short, pile them on. And then boom. Upside continuation, fresh all-time highs. They're on the wrong side of the trade. I saw one guy draw something like this. It's like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Now you're just dreaming. Yeah, now you're just dreaming. It's insanity. It's insanity. People, they get a bias in their head and then they die by that bias. That's not what we do here. What we do here is price is king. We allow price and momentum to give us our bias. And then if we get stopped out, well, that's just the market doing market things. But at least we're not going to be on the wrong side as it continues to make fresh all-time highs. You'll do better in your trading career if you stop listening to people on the internet and start focusing on simple proven strategies. Momentum oscillator, one of them. You don't need all of them, just one. This, the RSI, stock settings. The settings are perfect from the way it comes, and then a couple moving averages. I don't care if you use exponential or standard simple. You need to be able to identify where momentum is and which direction that momentum is heading. So that way, when you get pullbacks, instead of you trying to short, this high, then this high, then that high, then that high, then that high, then that high, then that, you could have just simply been, okay, well, if we pull back into this candle's open right here, I will freaking buy it. Oh, it didn't do that. Okay, well, this candle, if it pulls back, I will buy it. It didn't do it. Okay. Boom. It did it there. Okay. You're up. Don't be that simple with it. I'm just, obviously, I'm being a little bit redundant here, but you get what I'm saying. Go with order flow and momentum. I found out that it's legitimate call buying. It isn't just a short squeeze. Like, institutional positioning while this thing was ripping was more aggressive in those 3 weeks than it had been going all the way back to January 2025. So they saw something, some data point somewhere came out, right? In this week's range. A data point was dropped that made institutions literally completely shift their macro bias to go from, okay, it probably is going lower, to buy. Like, it's insanity how much. Let me see if I can pull that image up real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. Right here. Boom. January 2025, guys. Not 2026. Not this year. This is January 2026 right here. Right here. Oh, Okay. So you just can't see it. All right, let me try that again. So right here is Jan 2026. This is Jan 2025. Look at that call buying spike. That happened. That's April. That happened right here. Now, we've been talking about the short squeeze that was potentially, or that could potentially happen in the XLK, which is the tech sector, because there were more puts, like aggressively more puts from retail on the XLK sector specific. So because it was like refusing to go lower, I kept telling my community, because it's not going lower, because it's not like dumping the way that Bitcoin did, makes me kind of be afraid to even hold a short anymore. It's almost such an overcrowded trade that if this thing gets any kind of momentum at all to the upside for any amount of time, it could rip right back to all-time highs. I know I said that at least 3 times. I never positioned for it though. Because like everybody else, I didn't believe this at first. I didn't believe it at first. I had to legitimately go look for that data point that said, yes, they are, not only are they buying, but the increase in demand is 33%. So not just normal standard buying pressure that you see from institutions in bull markets, but an additional 33%. So they're buying heavily. So I kind of thought to myself, we would see that same order flow be relayed into Bitcoin, and that has not happened. Now we can pull up the calls and stuff like that on Bitcoin, but I'm not seeing that same aggression, that same like, get me in and I don't care what price, just get me in. I want calls, as many of them as you got. There's still a lot of FUD out there. You've got people that literally just they despise Bitcoin, so they want to spread FUD. But it is just FUD, and every bear market has it. It's always the end for Bitcoin. Every bear market since the beginning of time. Every time Bitcoin has a bear market, Bitcoin is going to zero because of this, and this. Insert random reason, right? Insert random reason. No, we let momentum guide our conviction because momentum is conviction. It's exactly what that means. Like, it is conviction. And when a market moves and the move is based on conviction, look out. Look out, because it can be a lot more than you think it can. It can go a lot higher than you think it can go, or vice versa. When the bears were in control of Bitcoin, just think about this. If Bitcoin was so bearish, why is it doing this? If Bitcoin was so bearish, look at what happened when Bitcoin started to get bearish here. Within 5 days, you were back down to the year open. 7 days of sideways, and in 1 day, you broke the year open, and then every day after that was a lower low, lower close, except for here, a couple days sideways, big break, big ass move. So if the bears could do this in the span of 2 weeks, why can't they do this again in the span of 3 months? So be careful who you listen to when it comes to getting a bias. This is not bearish. It isn't bullish either. It's in price discovery. But we know a supply shock is most likely coming. The odds are much more favorable for a big bullish rally than they are for a gigantic bearish move to come from here and to put you back down there. Now, with that being said, anything can happen. So don't just go out there and buy it with everything you got because of what I'm saying. I could be wrong. But in terms of a probability skew, I'd say the probability is we hit 100 before we hit 55. Or I'll just be fair and say 50. And I know people are shaking their heads. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But I would say in terms of probability, you hit 100 before you hit 50. Now, it's a very easy trade to take. It is, if you think that I'm wrong. If it's trading under 75, then the odds are a little bit more in the favor of it hitting 50 than it is at that point in time hitting 100. Because 50 is closer than 100. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's easy. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your... Here, let me make sure that there's no more important questions or anything that I missed, and then we'll wrap this up. Because Bitcoin is literally just chopping as sideways as it can be here this morning for whatever reason. I think it's going higher today, but we'll see. That's been my base case all morning. I think oil's going lower. I thought Euro was going higher. That's why I was looking for longs on Euro, long on Bitcoin, long on Pingu. And we were going to short Fartcoin if Fartcoin spiked up to here for us at 9:30, but it didn't. So that trade idea is shot. It won't let me delete it. Fine. Yeah, it won't let me delete it. Whatever. Don't short Fartcoin if Fartcoin gets up to 2010 later on today. I mean, if it gets up there, it's probably going higher. It's probably going to make a fresh day high, but Fartcoin isn't doing anything either. Fartcoin looks like nobody's trading it anymore. But we'll see what happens with it. So you're not seeing a trending deltas go to negative yet. You definitely want to see that to keep an oil bear bias. Because the buyers could buy this pullback. If you start to see deltas climb again, I would probably throw the shorts out the window on oil. This is aggressive buying pressure. So this pullback right here could just literally be an emotional move to pull in shorts to then just go and stop those guys out later on today to give it enough liquidity to push it back up till 111. So keep an eye on this. If it continues to trend, don't short it. And I'm not reading anything that I missed. So, I'll finish up these last three comments. My problem with crypto is how mindless the influencers are. It's like 2021 was the only cycle in Bitcoin's existence. They do continue to look in past cycles. The things that are happening today are not the same that were happening back then. In 2022, we had skyrocketing inflation. We had a very negative, the administration that was in office was very crypto negative. And skyrocketing inflation, the Fed was going to go on an aggressive rate hike. So many reasons to be a bear in 2021. So many. We were bearish. I was bearish at the top of the market in 2021. I didn't have the same signals in October to get uber bearish on Bitcoin. But even with that said, because we focus on price and momentum, we shorted it. We got short at 111. So we didn't miss the move. We caught the 80% dump on Pingu. So we caught it. We caught the entire bear market if you want to look at it that way. Bitcoin never dropped 80%. Pingu did. But yeah, it's just better to let price guide your hand. It's so much better. Ignore the finfluencers on the finternet, on FinTwit or whatever. Yeah, ignore them. Let price give you your bias and then execute that way. Keep a journal so that way you can see where you're doing things wrong. And over time, you should be able to build a very profitable strategy. You don't managing risk, that's key. That is the key to successful trading. If you can't manage risk, if you're a gambler, like if you're betting big because of any reason, you're probably not going to make it. You need to be very consistent in every way every time you enter and on your risk management. Very consistent. Your trading will turn around. It'll change your life. It happens over time. Thanks for the insight. You're welcome. This price action sucks. It definitely does on Bitcoin today, for sure. We've been watching it since 9 o'clock. It has literally gone nowhere. It made a fresh day high right here. It pulled back to New York's open. It almost looked like it wanted to go make a fresh day high. Then it pulled back to New York's open again. And it's right back up to New York, or fresh day high. Very choppy. Very garbage price action. I think people are watching oil. I think people want to see oil top out. If oil could top out today and print like a nice bearish engulfing, I don't think that's possible. I mean, plausible. It is possible, but at this point in time, I wouldn't say that it is plausible because half of the day is over almost. 30 more minutes and half the day is over, and you're still in the top of yesterday's range. To print a bearish engulfing, you're going to need to see a nasty dump at some point today. But if you could do something like that and close down here, that would probably change a lot of minds and get some bullish volume into Bitcoin. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just delusional and it's wishful thinking. But all eyes are on oil right now. All eyes are on oil and dollar. We've got dollar heading in the right direction now. Now. So now what I want to see on the dollar tomorrow and next week is continuation. That's what I want to see on the dollar. Give me 3 to 5 down days, please. Get us down into here again. This is a massive level. This level is what has literally held the dollar from breaking down since it's been in this year-long chop fest. The dollar could break down under monthly support and give us a large macro trending move. I think Bitcoin could rally hard. Honestly, I do. So come on, give me some continuation. Pretty please. Yeah, I'd love to see the dollar break down. I think that would help. That would help tremendously. And hopefully it does it from here and it doesn't pull back very far, because Euro doesn't have to go very far to stop me out. It's been very difficult to get long on this asset to cover or to catch a dollar short position. It's been a difficult trade. Has not really worked out. But it looks fine now. So even if you were a technical analyst using trend lines, you can see how you are breaking this downtrend right now. This was our entry. So a close up in here would be nice. Obviously, a close above this swing high this week, tomorrow, would be much nicer. And that still isn't really going to do anything because of last week's range. You're still inside of it. So we're really not doing anything here on Euro. But where the 21 exponential is tells us that we could be bullish here, anticipating a larger move higher. Right? And then even on the daily, we got a bullish engulfing on the daily. That is nice. That is nice. Nice, nice. Now we want to see continuation tomorrow and early next week. We'll see what happens. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.